Let me ask you all one question. It was made known to me by people that have accurate information that this commission was polled and asked for their support for this legislation, and that essentially what is taking place here today allows for the opportunity for testimony, but has very little chance, if any, of reversing a decision that has essentially already been made. Is that the case?
Well, I can state with the legislation, the need for interior landmark designation was that was identified at this committee, and Councilman Kraft sponsored that legislation for the commission, I guess, or on behalf of the commission, and that was passed as stated in the staff report.
I'm talking about today's, the result of today.
Yes or no will do.
That's right.
Then you'll have an opportunity to speak. I don't think I could answer that with a yes or no question. So in terms of today's action, there was a consensus on the commission that the legislation was passed, but we needed to adopt guidelines and procedures for that interior landmark process. And so that was incorporated in the new guidelines and procedures for the commission that were adopted in February. So at that point, when we had our guidelines and procedures in place in a briefing session, the commission, there was a consensus of the commission that the interior of the Senator Theater should be considered for landmark designation, and we asked. With
all due respect, you're not answering my question. My question is, was the decision of this commission decided ahead of time before today's?
Okay. No, thank you.
Also, with regards to the City Council, and not only the City Council legislation, but also a number of other aspects, apparently, since it appears that my days are numbered, my involvement in the process and my being informed of what's taking place is no longer necessary. And that is upsetting to me, particularly with regards to the inclusion of the interior controls wording in the legislation that passed through the City Council without my being informed that this was being added to it, because when I was here in 2007, I was assured it would not be part of it. I think that's a troubling pattern. I think you're also going to hear some testimony by an organization a bit later that had given me 2 preservation awards, and I had tremendous respect for. Apparently they're going to be in support of this legislation, and despite my best efforts to have some input into that process, that was ignored. So I just wanted to note that for the record, because I take exception with these issues.
Thank you, Mr. Kiefaber. Mr. Leon?
Commissioners, I think I understand Mr. Kiefaber's situation, dilemma regarding the legislation. What was happening at the time of the exterior landmark designation, it was at the same time period that the new and updated language for the CHAP ordinance was being put in place, and that was also introduced. That was introduced by Councilman Kraft, and so it was running parallel tracks. The final designation of the Senator Theater in November of 2007 has no controls in that legislation, in that ordinance at all on the interior of the Senator Theater. That still strictly only provides exterior controls to this commission. But at the same time, in a different legislation, different ordinance bill, the interior language was introduced, clarified, and going through an almost parallel track at the time.
Interior language had no relationship to any particular building.
No.
It was just enables CHAP.
It enables CHAP, whether it's City Hall, whether it's any other theater or church or any other building out there, for CHAP to pursue interior landmark designation. There's no specific reference at all that the Senator Theater was the sole focus of this legislation. And in fact, the presentations show numerous buildings, including the Senator Theater, as the highly prized examples of high interior design that this commission may want to pursue at some future point.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Leon. All right, I'm going to move on to testimony, and I'm going to take it in the order that is, folks signed up on our sheet. I'm going to ask that you limit your testimony to 3 minutes as stated previously, and ask Mr. Leon to help me with time in terms of testimony. And I'm going to start with Gail Grove. Please introduce yourself at the podium.
I'd like to, first of all, thank everyone for being here today, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. I apologize for starting a little early before I got to the podium. I'd like to start off my comments with a quote I came across
Please
recently.
introduce your name, please, and any affiliation.
Gail Grove, unemployed, former employee of the Senator Theater.
Thank you.
I would like to start with a quote from a CHAP board member. If the city becomes a place where the city leadership is seen in an unfavorable light, that could be a real damper, said Embry, who thinks Baltimore's challenge is less about changing direction than about not messing up. Now, for my comments, we are all aware that the future ownership of the Senator Theater is in limbo as of today's date. This being known to CHAP, it is obvious that this hearing should be rescheduled when it is clear as to who the new owner or owners will be. In 2007, when the theater was at risk, CHAP sprung up out of the blue. We were told that the theater was on a special list. When asked what other properties were on this special list, we were told none, just the Senator. So a special list was created specifically and especially for the Senator Theater. CHAP guidelines and procedures are very different for the Senator Theater than other privately owned properties. For example, the Senator Theater is not eligible for historic tax credits. It is crucial that CHAP rules, guidelines, and procedures as outlined by the CHAP Commission are followed by the CHAP Commission. The Senator's story is one that has already traveled well outside of Baltimore, outside of Maryland, across the U.S., and outside of the U.S. The world is watching and following this story and watching all of us as well. It is the best interest of all concerned that we take our time and work together on ensuring that the Senator's story has a happy ending. We have the golden ticket. We have the opportunity to inspire and motivate other old theater nuts from around the country that both city government and private tax-paying citizens can do the right thing for all concerned for all the right reasons. Not one person in this room is more educated, aware, or dedicated with regard to the importance of maintaining the historic preservation and integrity of the Senator Theater than Tom Kiefaber and his family. This includes the Senator's wide array of extended family, some of which are here today. Certain aspects and areas in and outside of the theater are currently not listed as being protected when they certainly should be. There are numerous issues regarding conflicts of interest, procedures, guidelines, etc. For example, CHAP guidelines and procedures are different for city-owned properties. The City of Baltimore says they're going to purchase the theater. There are strong ties to one CHAP member, in particular with a very high-profile developer who has openly expressed interest in obtaining the Senator at auction. Numerous conflicts of interest, legal issues and concerns, things yet to be acknowledged, discussed, etc. It will not be in the best interest of the CHAP Commission to go through with a vote today. Word on the street is that the CHAP Commission has already met privately and voted yes prior to today's public meeting. Again, with the whole world watching us and with too many concerns, unanswered questions, and the ownership of the theater not being known at this time, for the CHAP Commission to vote today could create a situation where, and I quote, if the city becomes a place where the city leadership is seen in an unfavorable light, that could be a real damper.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just to clarify, the theater is eligible for tax credits.
That's not stated in the CHAP guidelines on the website.
Okay.